Today in this series, we are looking at sign number 12 that a marriage is drifting away from covenant into convenience. And today it is about when covenant becomes contractual. Marriage is already in danger. A day a husband and a wife start asking themselves what their gain was in that relationship. Because that moment, love has become a transaction and no longer a covenant. Then something is already drifting out of covenant. It is actually looking more like a contract in such situation. Contracts are based on performance, but covenant, no, they are not based on performance, but instead they are based on commitment. And the moment marriage begins to run on performance basis, the covenant is under a very serious pressure. What is covenant marriage? I would explain. Marriage was never designed as a business agreement. It is a covenant even right from the beginning. A covenant before God. And a covenant means a commitment. It means it is a permanence in nature. It is a loyalty. It is sacrifice, and it's a shared destiny. A covenant is deeper than just ordinary feelings. It is something that is binding us spiritually, and it is a commitment between husband and wife with God in the middle of it. Marriage was designed by God as covenant and not as contract. Genesis chapter 2 verse 24 made us understand that a man and a woman become one flesh. God did not say they are just going to sign an agreement and then a contract. He said they would become one. So therefore, if God has actually merged a man and a woman together, making them to become one, then it goes beyond them being separate because of poor performance or because of an agreement. It's contractual marriage. I would explain in simple terms that a contract operates on terms and conditions. It will say something like, if you do your own part, I would also do mine. If you fail to play your own roles, I might cease from playing my own roles too. It could say, if you stop trying, I would also stop trying. It could say that if this contract stop benefiting me, I might reconsider my choice, either to stay or to leave. You know why? Because contracts are mainly based on performance, but marriage is not based on performance. It is based on commitment. Let me say something very funny, that when couples first get married, when their feelings are very high, everything is top-notch, they are well charged with feelings of emotions and overwhelming feelings, they will say things such as, the husband will be like, okay baby, you know what, even if there is no food in the house, we'll fast together, we are together in this. And then the wife would say, oh, your problem is my problem, we'll die here together. But after some years, the language will begin to shift, it will begin to change little by little. Now it will become departmental marriage, and then the husband will say, okay madam, the NEPA bill is up for the pay, then it's your ministry, it's becoming departmental. And then the wife could reply, school fees is your calling. And then the generator spoils, suddenly the wife will say, okay, nobody is responded, the wife is not anointed to take care of such, the husband is not anointed. And then everybody will say, this is not my job description, this isn't your job description, this is your job description. Things become tough, things becomes rough. Everybody begins to sort out things that are convenient for them. They will begin to push off the things that they feel are not convenient for them. This is a sign that marriage is drifting out of covenant. What about the one flesh thing? What about the two becoming one? Why do we have such separation? Why do we have this as if it was a contract that was signed at will only to be based on performance? It's a significant sign that marriage is getting out of covenant for sure, and it is becoming a convenience. In a situation whereby both husband and wife will have to go ahead and read the terms and the conditions, like, okay, let's go and check our constitution again, who should be responsible for this. This is not how a covenant runs. It is because covenant is drifting out of that marriage. Covenant will say we face things together, but contract will say please check the agreement first, and then you begin to push responsibility, you push blame, you push fault. All of that is a significant sign. Let's quickly check it out. The signs that a marriage has become contractual. 1, scorekeeping. Marriage becomes accounting. You begin to recount what you have done. You begin to you measure them. You begin to say, I've done this, I cooked yesterday, you didn't call me, I did this for you, you didn't do this for me, you did that, you did that. Love becomes calculation. When you begin to notice that you've started calculating what you have done, then matching it or checking it, or you are comparing it with that of your spouse, something is wrong. 2, conditional love instead of unconditional love. Regardless of whatever might happen in our marriage, we are not supposed to exhibit conditional love. Tit for tat. If it feels good, I'll go for it. If it doesn't feel good, then I'll not go for it. You begin to calculate, okay, what do I stand to gain in this? Then if there are no gains, then you won't go for it. You say that, okay, I love you when you behave well. No, that is not the language of the covenant. I believe that it will be very easy for everybody to love if everyone behaves well. That is conditional. But what if your spouse is not behaving well? The covenant will just say, okay, I would stay. But the convenience will say, okay, I would stay if conditions are met. Number 3, sacrifice disappears. When covenant is strong, sacrifice is normal. Some people can go to an extreme. They can do anything for their spouse. That is when they are still, the feelings are still major. That is when they are still very much okay. But when things go out of hand, when it becomes contractual, spouses begins to say, why should I stress myself? Let everyone handle their own life. I choose myself, outlove myself, self-care. That is the language of a contract. That is not the language of a covenant. It is not the language of a covenanted marriage. When sacrifice disappears, that is when you begin to see a wife who have the ability to help her husband out of his struggles, maybe financial struggles, but yet she chose not to, because she will say, why should I? Those questions are really signifying that your marriage is crumbling. Or when the husband have the ability to help the wife, maybe spiritually, physically, economically, or with her finances, or with her life, with her identity, and yet you speak some contractual language, say, okay, it's her problem, let her deal with it. That is not the language of a covenanted marriage. It's a contract. You should look out for it wherever you find this in your marriage. It is actually calling your attention. Allow me to borrow you some restoration wisdom. If you have noticed that your marriage has already drifted from a commitment into performance, if you have noticed that it is no longer commitment but instead it is now a convenience, these are the things you can do. Please return to the original pattern. Return to the original covenanted type that love selflessly. Please go ahead into sacrificial love and then return to the original covenant involving God, where the wife will submit to the husband and the husband will love the wife as Christ loved the church. Again, please stop keeping scores. Whatever you do it as if unto the Lord, who is going to reward you abundantly, who will bring it back to you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together, will be returned to you. Next, please remember the purpose of the marriage. Get back on track and stop the competition. That is not the original purpose of your marriage. You are meant to look out for each other. You are meant to do life together. So you are not competing for anything. You are teammates. Please join together. That is the purpose. When God said it is not good for the man to be alone, it is because the wife is coming to complement him and not to challenge him. Let us get back to the original purpose. Next, please choose sacrifice over convenience, because marriage is not a transaction. It is a shared destiny instead. I'll close like this. A contract will say, if you fail me, I'll walk away. But a covenant will say, even when the storm comes, we will fight for us. So it is not a matter of you alone. It is not a matter of you doing yourself. No, it is the two of you doing the us together. Marriage begins to weaken the moment love becomes negotiation. Don't negotiate. Instead, please protect the covenant with all of your strength, because strong marriages are not built on people who never have problems. Yes, but they are built by people who refuse to downgrade covenant into contract no matter what comes their way. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And my name is Helen, the convener of Marriage on the Rock and Singles with Purpose. Let us pray. I pray that the light of God will enter your home and knock off every form of darkness. And if you believe that marriage should remain covenant and not a contract, please share this video and let other people benefit from it, and don't even hesitate to follow us as we continue to expose signs that the marriage is drifting away from covenant. I call you the blessed of the living God. Thank you.